Hello. Today we are recording in a very unusual setting. We have an amazing camera. Thanks to our friend Dennis. Dennis, you're the best.
Thank you, Dennis. The only unusual thing is that we're not blurred. Now you can see who is actually hosting this podcast.
All the pimples, all the imperfections of our skin.
We were perfect, but now we are real.
Okay, let's start.
Let's start today. We finally wanted to talk about the
Ongoing issue.
apartment search in Berlin. The
nightmare. Apart from finding a boyfriend.
Yeah, there are two. Find a flat and find a boyfriend. I don't know which one is the hardest one.
I mean, finding a flat, of course. What would you choose? Finding the love of your life or finding an apartment in Berlin? The choice is obvious.
I mean, if you compare that I'm looking for the love of my life for the last 30 years and the flat I was looking for 1 year, then I would choose the love of my life.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, this is a topic that is, I think, the hardest for anyone who wants to stay in Berlin long term.
It's your personal pain?
It's my personal pain because as soon as I got like a real job, then I could start looking for a flat, and I started, and then it took me 1 year to find a flat.
Yeah, I was empathizing all along. I was just struggling emotionally as much as you do. It was so hard, and like your frustration just made me very sad all the time.
Yeah, and my experience is not unique at all. I think so many people actually have it even worse than me. Like, people leave Berlin because they can't find a flat, and knowing about these cases is actually making it harder, because then you start to believe, okay, if there are some actually like normal people, like a friend of a friend who had to leave Berlin because they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, it's an additional emotional pressure.
Maybe it's never gonna happen. But it happened. Spoiler alert.
It happened, and today mostly I will be interviewing Uliana.
But housing problem is not only for those who want to find their own apartment. It's actually a struggle for anyone. You, for example, you live like in a flat share where we record now.
Yeah.
But it's still hard to find.
It was hard to find, and it was such a lucky case that I found this apartment.
Can you tell the story? Like, how did you find it?
It's one of my golden stories. It was last year when we decided to go to Berghain and have some fun time. And there we accidentally met two guys, super nice guys, also were smoking joints, so we were like vibed immediately, cracking jokes, drinking vodka, all that stuff that you usually do at Berghain. Not listening to music, of course. And we exchanged contacts, and we hung out a couple of times after that. And this guy...
I did not hang out with them. That's why I didn't receive any benefits from this connection.
Yeah, but I was looking for a flat, I was making new friends. And this guy knew that I was searching for a flat, and basically he introduced me to his best friend, who was looking for a new tenant in this apartment. And I came here. It was a total match, and now I'm super grateful for this opportunity. So... people, I don't want to suggest it, but just a couple of times give Berghain a chance.
Go to Berghain.
Maybe you will find a job, you will find an apartment, you will find a love of your life, who knows?
Anything. Yeah, but just to kind of paint the picture, so there's a housing crisis in Berlin, which I find it got worse, but maybe it's just everyone saying it's getting worse. So that means that there are more people who are looking for the flats than there are flats or possibilities to rent. And that creates an enormous competition and an enormous lack of opportunities, basically. There are roughly two types of living options. One is a WG, which is living together in a flat share. And the other one is living alone or with a partner. Don't forget, we don't want to forget about people who have partners or family. So there are two types, and I think the search is a little bit different because sublets is a world on its own. You don't have to have a lot of documents, you don't have to prove your income, but you have to have connections. I feel like it's a lot about someone is moving out and then they offer you a room, or you know a group of people. So it's more word of mouth to find it. But of course you can also search online always.
Although it never works.
It never works. And with the flat, like, you have to have a standard list of documents, which include a stable income, a proof of income, some other papers, your credit history. So a list of documents that you have to have.
Selling your soul also.
Yeah, selling your soul, you sign with the blood. So it's a bit more complicated than a flat share. But this sublets of flat shares, what I hear a lot is that you change
very frequently.
2-3 in a year. So some people say, okay, I live 5 years in Berlin and I changed 10 flats, because usually it's not long term, it's for a short period of time, like from 1 month to a couple of months to a couple of years. So you have to move very frequently. So how many times did you have to move? Is it also a lot, or?
Yeah, it was quite, I think, not less than 6 times. I think it's more applicable to the newcomers rather than to not German, but like German people. And it's also a lot more easier for German or German-speaking people to find an apartment or like any accommodation.
What you mean is like Germans with German surnames?
Germans for sure, German surnames, but also if you see the gradation, then the German-speaking people also have like a lot more chances to.
There's a hierarchy of your chances to find a flat in Berlin. Like on top is the white Germans.
Being German itself.
Being German, then speaking German, then being from a country that is not that is within Europe and outside Europe, but not Russia
or Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, I think first top of the top place is if you have rich parents.
Money talks.
Money.
I didn't have to move so much, so I moved 3 times in total in sublets.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I was really lucky. With the apartment search, I really feel like it's a Hunger game. First, as I said, you need to have your documents ready. If you don't have these basic documents, the chances that you can rent out of the market are very low. If you have like connections, there's another story that maybe someone owns a flat, your friend, he rents you without the documents. I'm talking about the formal situation when you rent from an agency or a landlord. You have to have this, and you have to have a job. And this job has to be a German job. Like, it has to be an official job. You have to have an official income. Income should be 3 times more than you rent.
And the more the better.
No one will rent you a 1,000 euro apartment if your salary is 2,000.
Bummer.
So, but I mean, maybe you also don't want to pay so much. So the entry level is already pretty high to even start to search for your own flat. But then once you started, then you go in this hideous procedures of looking for a flat, like humiliating procedures, because okay, you start to use some resources to find a flat, like websites. You have your profile on the searching engines where to find a flat. You start to apply, and I actually have a statistics how many applications did I send, and then you wait for the reply.
Will you share?
I will share, yeah. So I don't know exactly, but I roughly applied 450 times on ImmoScout.
What?
And then I also applied through eBay Kleinanzeigen. I think there was maybe around like 30. So it's almost up to 500 applications
Insane.
in a year. I know people that send more than that, but that's already pretty high. And I was not able to calculate like the ratio to the viewing
success.
The ratio of the success is 1 in 500. But I want to calculate how many viewings did I get, so how many invitations to view a flat. I was not able to do it because I cannot search for specific words. But
roughly? I
think I've seen around, not more than 15 flats overall.
Out of 500.
15 flats.
That's very frustrating.
Yeah, but the process of applying, so it's not just the amount of applications. The demand is so high that the ad, so the advertisement for a flat is only up for like 1-2 minutes, and then it's off. So everyone has like bots and notifications that is tailored to your search, and then when something pops up, you like I was obsessed, of course, with my phone, because you have literally like less than 1 minute to apply, and the competition is crazy. In 1-2 minutes they will receive around 200-300 applications.
Of course they will review like first
and they will
10.
review top 10, and if you are not in this top 10, you can forget about it. You will never hear back. If you are then in this top not top 10, I would say top 50. If you're in this top 50 and you match the requirements, then you will be invited to a viewing. They usually invite a lot of people to a viewing. So I've been to viewings where you come to the address and you can see the line, it starts behind the building. So there's around at least 50 people in the line. This is very humiliating. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're standing in this line, there are all these people waiting, and then one by one you just go in the flat, and then you have like 3 minutes, and then
I think
you're out.
It's not very humiliating for Berliners. They actually love standing in queues.
Yeah, but then you feel so demotivated, because there you see all these other people who are there, and you understand how low are your chances. So the viewings are organized typically as a mass viewing, so you will have this either a line of people, or they will give you slots, and then there will be like a rotation. So you will go out, and then you can see people are coming in.
You'll go out crying.
Yeah, and then there's all these games and recommendations how people like advise you to behave on the viewings. Like, what should you do? Because you're in the viewing, 99% of times on the viewing there's an agent. So there's a representative of like a landlord or an agent. There are different opinions of how much this person has influence on the choice. And it's really hard to estimate, because sometimes they have very little power to choose. They send, for example, 10 applications to the landlord, and it's entirely the landlord who chooses. But still, they have to choose 10
filter.
applications. Yeah. So then it's like, some people say you have to befriend the agent. So you have to be like, or
seduce.
Or seduce. You have to be remembered. So it goes from
just
even
go
naked, wear something like bright colors, like something that will make you
memorable.
Yeah, like something that will distinguish you from other people. Talk to the agent, and that's why you see all these people in broken German trying to like ask the same questions just so they have a minute of the time of the agent, and they're like, okay, and is the electricity included? Okay, thank you, I'm really, and then there's this kind of awkward vibe, because everyone is like, I'm really interested in this apartment,
licking their ass.
Yeah, I would really like to have it, and it's really awkward feeling. And of course I did it as well. I also was saying the same thing.
The first one.
Things. Yeah. I was aggressively pushing everyone in full red outfit with feathers,
dancing
on high heels, just to be remembered, and also, all the attention on me.
I can imagine.
That's my style.
Yeah.
It still took me a year. So if you wear all black, it might be good luck. So yeah, the viewing is a thing on its own, and I saw a lot of different things as well. Like, some companies, that was maybe the one that I was not shocked, but I was just thinking of how ridiculous the whole situation is. So one company, they invited people, a lot of people, and then if you're interested, you can submit your email after the viewing, and they say that they put all the emails in the randomizer, and then they randomly choose one person, and only this one person has a chance to submit, to show them the documents, like the actual documents. If everything is fine with the documents of this person, then...
And your guardian angel is actually working.
Exactly, like what kind of luck is that. So if this everything is fine with this person, then they will get a flat. If not, they will randomize and move to the second lucky one. And when I heard it, I was like, this is like a lottery.
Wild.
This is wild. This is literally like a lottery. But we have
Russian roulette.
But we have to say that in Germany, if you sign a contract for your own flat, it almost equals to owning this flat, because
Your ass is secured.
Because you're very secured. The regulations are protecting you, and no one can kick you out. So it's not the same as, I don't know, in Russia or in other countries where you sign a contract and then the landlord can tomorrow come and say, okay, now the contract is finished, you have to be out in the next 2 weeks or 1 month if they are nice.
Just in the union, you come home and the lock is changed.
So it's different. So it really felt that I am participating in the lottery and I have to win. Yeah, and that's crazy.
Uliana, I really admire how strong you are. Only after realizing what have you been going through, I understood that I have the strongest friend in the world that will always protect me, that will always help me in any situation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a very good compliment.
Welcome, yeah.
And the crazy thing of it all, that you have these alarms that are triggered when you see an ad, and the alarms go every day like 10, 20 times. So you constantly see flats that are amazing, that fit all your demands, everything that you want. They're cheap, but you constantly don't get them because it's just the competition. Like the cheaper the flat, the more competition there will be.
So you have this high heat of hope, and then almost immediately the heat of disappointment.
Exactly. So you always feel like there are so many options, but you're just not getting them. And so it's not like you don't see anything. It's you see a lot, but there are so many people who are looking that immediately the flats are gone. And you definitely get used to rejections, for sure. Like you get rejections every day. It's a rejections therapy. So instead of going on the street and asking people for like money, you know what they do in this workshops to get rejections, you should just start to search for flat. But I also use some more unconventional ways to find flats. I think I used everything. So if you have a list of things, I used everything. So first, it's just the normal websites, the searching engine to search for flats. Second is I made an ad in the Tagesspiegel, so it's a newspaper. It's an old school way where there's like a page where you can write, 4 lines of text. So very short. It's really funny because then you have this newspaper, which I was looking, I was looking for this newspaper to find my ad. It was hard to find, but then I found it, and then it's like, young lady is looking for a single flat.
Yeah, an attractive lady.
Yeah, but I didn't say attractive, but I should have.
I thought that was the reason that you got a call from that man from prison. Please tell the story.
I got 3 calls maybe in total, and the first call I got was from a guy who was in prison.
I remember that one.
And he called me from the prison, and he said that he has a flat, and it was hard to understand him. But he said that he has a flat that he will not need for the next 10 years. So basically an empty flat for 10 years.
What a plot twist.
And then he has a sister who can show it to me. So I was, of course, very intrigued. But he said, okay, my sister will contact you. But she never contacted me, and I didn't call back. So
To prison.
Started to call all the prisons to find out where he was. That was unsuccessful but exciting. Then I think a drunk guy called me. He was very annoying, very drunk. But that's it. So if you should do it, I don't know. I think yes, worth a try. But the only things I got from it is a fun story and a call from prison. So another one was that I printed an ad and then I glue it all over the neighborhood where I wanted to have a flat. So it was cute because my friend helped me to make a design. Yannick, thank you. And I actually got to talk to a lot of people. Like, surprisingly, every time I wanted to put it on the door, someone was coming in or out. And at first I was scared because people would be angry or like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you putting this trash? But in the end, they were all like really nice, and I got to talk with some people, and they were all kind of understanding, but nobody could help me. So it was cute, but I had zero responses from that. So nobody called me, even though I put there that I can like compensate if they help me find a flat. But the reason for that is usually the tenants don't know that there is a free flat, or that they don't control the flats. They cannot rent it. They have no ownership. So it's always the company who owns the building, and then they didn't see my ad. Cool, but ineffective. So yeah, I tried everything. I tried physical methods. Like, of course, I asked everyone all the time, and I said that I'm looking for a flat. And in the end, although I was pretty sure that I would get results from these online applications, because I got 2 offers that I declined because I thought I can find something better, but at least I got something. So I was pretty sure, but then as the time was going, that was not happening. That was really, really frustrating.
Uliana was recording me messages like, oh my god, why haven't I taken this flat before?
So many heartbreaking situations, because I've seen flats that were like crazy beautiful, so just like a dream, and I was not getting them, and that was always like really, really painful and frustrating. So how I got a flat, a friend helped me. She was also on the search. She was doing the same thing as me, but she spoke fluent German, so I think that's, of course, a big help. So she was at the viewing, and she starts to talk to an agent who was from a big housing company. And the agent was like, okay, if you don't like this flat, I also can send you some options if you tell me what you're looking for. She's like, oh, okay, perfect. So she sent him an email, and he replied with a couple of options, and they were all under renovation, but then he would show it to her one-on-one. So exclusively. So there was not a mass viewing. And then when he was showing it to her, she could just say yes or no. So it's the only story that I heard like that, because usually the agents don't do that, because they gain very little from it. He didn't do it for money. I think he was just making it easier for himself, because he didn't want to put the ads online and go through this process. One thing about this apartment search is that you can't even pay anyone who will find a flat for you, like an agent, like a marketer, because they always say there's no guarantee. And I also heard that even if you pay someone like 2-3K, they still can't find you a flat, because they are helpless in the face of this crisis. Anyways, that was this guy, a miracle in this world. And then she got a flat, and then she asked him, okay, I have another friend, can she email you? And then he said, yeah, sure. And then I emailed him, and he offered me a couple of options, and then one was fitting the search. And then I just viewed it. It was under renovation. It was really hard to understand how it will look like when I will be living there. But in the end, it was so easy. Like, I just said yes, we signed the contract the next day, and then I got a flat.
Perfect.
I would still advise to just search, like in a normal...
Just search.
Yes, so first just search, and the longer you search, the higher are the chances you'll find something. But I have a friend who found a flat very quickly with just a regular search. That depends on the salary.
I didn't want to tell you, but I have a colleague who was looking for a room or a flat for less than a month, and then she got an amazing room, and then she also got a flat at the same time for less than a month with a standard salary. So yeah, her guardian angel was actually doing his job.
I really want to give some good advice on how to find a flat, but I feel like there's so many different conditions.
I think the main advice that you can have is like just earn a lot of money.
That's not very practical.
It will solve all your problem.
Also, some people fake their salary.
Some people fake their salary. Mm-hmm.
We don't know these people.
No,
we are not these
They're
people.
not
None of my friends are these people.
Never.
So, but some do. Something that is also super crazy, I don't know if it's anywhere in the world like that, is that the range of the price for the apartment can be so different in Berlin. So you will have flats like 60 square meters, nice area, nice old flat for 600, and then you will have a new studio 24 square meters for 1000. And everyone says the prices are going up, which is true, but you still can have flats for very cheap that are amazing. And then you always have this huge difference in the price and in the options. The market is regulated, but there's one, I think, very big gap, which is if the apartment is with the furniture, then it can be rented for anything. So basically, if you have an apartment and you put there a couch and table, you can rent it
20%
higher. Yeah.
There are some laws that would prevent landlords from or agencies from like skyrocketing the price. And I think it's regulated mostly by federal laws, but there was like a case in Berlin in 2019 when Berlin government introduced a new regulation which allowed to reduce the cost, or at least to stop there from raising super high. It was working for a while, for maybe like a year or a bit less, but then the German constitutional court interfered, and they said like, no, this law is like contradicts with constitution, and they cancelled it. And so the tenants had to, in reverse, they had to pay back this whole difference for a year. I had a friend, he was living in a very nice, small but overpriced apartment near Hermannplatz. After this law, he started to pay twice as less, but then he had to return the difference, and it was quite like thousands of euros, which is crazy. It wasn't the fault of tenants that the law didn't work in the end. They had to face these serious consequences.
Yeah. Maybe one other thing is the fraud.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask, how is the situation with scammers?
So I think there are some cases where you can very clearly see that that's fraud. Also, maybe not for everyone, but if you're like me, that you lived here for some time, you know a little bit about how the procedure should go, then I would be able to see it. For someone who is looking outside of like Berlin, not being physically here, I think it still can be very deceiving.
And of course, if you're very desperate,
tend
to believe.
This pressure, of course, like intensifies the chances to be scammed. One of the most frequent ones is that they have an ad on the website. You reply, and then they would write you an email right away that would say, "Hey," and they have some kind of story like, I'm an old lady living in Spain. No one takes my apartment. Would you like to take it? I can rent it to you. You need to transfer me the money, and then you will get the flat. Something like this. So the story will usually mean that they cannot physically show you the apartment, that they have some urgency, that you have to rent it right away. So something like this. These are all red flags. And the ad on the app would usually be from a private person, which some people say that they just don't apply to any private people at all. Only the agencies or housing companies.
Specifically because of this reason.
Specifically because of this. So And I would say yes, do that. Like if you don't want to distinguish between the two or you're scared, just always apply for the ads that are coming from a company, and then you can click and see the profile on Emo Scout on this website. But they also are getting more
creative. Exactly. This lady in Spain is a very old story, I think.
It is a very, but so I heard one story from my colleague. He was already living here. He is American, so he's not native speaker. So his story was really crazy. He viewed the apartment, and then he went to an agency, physical place, to sign the contract, and then it was weird. The agency looked weird, and he started to feel that he was pressured to pay. Mm-hmm. So something was putting him off, and I think he didn't pay in the end, but he lost a lot of time, and he was in the situation where they needed to leave their flat, but they didn't have a place to go. So this type of scams is when they Airbnb a flat. They basically rent a flat which would be furnished, and then they say that's the flat, and then you physically go and view the flat. And I think that's can be really, really deceiving, because then you actually saw the flat, and then they want you to pay for it, and that's how you get scammed.
A moment. So, as far as I understood, they rent a random Airbnb flat, and then they stage the whole situation that they are an agency and then rent out this flat, but in reality, it doesn't even belong to them, right?
Exactly. They rent a flat, they say this is the flat that you will get. Then I think it can be different. I think maybe after that they can even ask you to transfer the money, but you feel much more secure because you've seen the flat, you've been inside, and you think you can rent it.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's the new level.
I think there are more stories than that. I've also been contacted by some agents who are like, you can pay me, I will help you to find something. You have to be very careful. You have to be very alert on this kind of things, and always just rent from the companies that you can check. That's like, it's hard because some of the companies are very small. They're literally owned by like a family or something, and they have like a very small housing company, and then they have like 10 flats. It's also possible. Like these agencies, they're all over Berlin. I wish I had a very ready instruction on like what to do to find a flat, but I feel like I did what most of the people do, like with this
even more.
I went on
all these performances with feather.
Exactly. I went on some untouched paths as well. But yeah, I mean, if someone is looking for a flat, you can reach out to me. I can maybe send you some stuff that I used. But overall, it's Email Scout, the biggest website. It's email notifications. Actually, the bot was not really helpful. So just an email. Talk to the agents on the viewings. Try to talk to them even in English. I've heard this many times. People are fine talking in English as well. In German, in English. Like, try to be proactive. And also have friends.
Yeah. And have followers on Instagram.
And be famous.
Be charismatic, be wealthy.
Be extroverted, wealthy, famous, white, and German. So these are 5 main points. You can start with any of those.
Did you have any success with social media posts?
Not really. I feel, my personal feeling is when you start to get recommendations from friends, or when you post like on your Instagram, you get referred to some flats or options, but the chances that matches your search are so low, because this is a very random thing. It's not for your search, it's just someone is moving from some apartment. So all the options that I was getting like through friends, they were all not what I was looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it's much easier with finding a room through social media, because that happened to me quite sometimes. Also, Tinder connections, dating app connections work. Putting an announcement on your t-shirt that you're looking for a flat and then go into clubs, or just like walking around. Yeah, many times. I don't know if the people are approached by anyone and being offered a flat, but it might work. I mean, all the ways could be feasible.
So yeah, don't get demotivated. Keep searching. You can hit me up if you need some advice. But I have to say now I'm in my flat in my little kingdom.
Congratulations, Uliana.
Thank you.
Так, все.